What's going on, everyone? It's Appalachian ADV Rider here, once again with an unboxing. You know what? I know in my videos I kept on saying, hey, what is this? And pretending like, you guys didn't know, right? But obviously you see the title, so I'm not even going to pretend. So this is the Socom Elite. Got this one in. Been wanting to try this one. It has been reviewed by a lot of people, and if you look at like the top 10 lists to some reviewers, this is usually in the top 10. So I saw it available and had to have it. So let's open this box. I have no room here, and this box is huge. I don't know why. It's heavy though, which I like. So if you guys know me, I like a heavy knife. So got absolutely no room to open this or in front of the camera, so I apologize if I go off screen. Here we go. Packages are pretty good. Oh, then another. All right. I'm just taking it off camera. Probably makes sense. Let's just get this over with. Open sesame. So how you all been doing? It's been warm across the country. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. Okay. Here we go. So this is actually my first Microtech also. They have a lot of automatics out the front, I guess. I don't really know. I'm not going to speak much about the company. So I wanted to give it a shot. I'm looking at this knife visually. I just never been interested in it. And plus it's aluminum. So, that's always been something that I wasn't really interested in. So I'm just giving you the background of the story. So, I might still not be interested in it after I open this, or it may change my mind. So here, I'll tell you what, the box is pretty nice. Pretty well done. It's a USA made knife, which I prefer. Though I'm a review channel here, so I'm gonna have to, review all kinds of knives, not just US knives. But Socom Elite TE, have no clue what that stands for. Tactical standard 161-1T. All right, there you go. That's that. Oh, don't want to. Move that out of the way. All right. Open that up. This is what you see. All right. Before I look at that, you got some. All right, no one's here for that. You got a nice box, nice cushion. Everything's real nice. Presentation's very nice. They charge a good amount for this knife, so it's nice to see, that they're just not taking it all in margin. They're giving some of it back to you in a nice packaging, right? If you lower the price by $20, you can keep your box. But anyway, that's just me. It's nice. I'm not complaining. So they have a manual and an automatic, and I have two automatics so far, and I'm just not really into automatics. So here we go. Wow. So this feels nice. It's substantial. This is almost feels rubberish. Very nice. It's blacked out. So, well, let's just. Okay. So this comes tip down. It's the only way you can carry it. So this will be my first tip down. Anyway, let's try out this flipping action here. Not bad. Yeah, so this is a Tonto blade, and I don't know if it's a reverse Tonto or not, but this is the first knife I have, I think, with this particular shape to it, and the coated blade doesn't bother me. I mean, I saw it, and I was like, yeah, you know what? It's tactical looking, and so that would make it even more tactical. I'm not so sure why they needed to print so much stuff here on this blade, or maybe it's like a story, right? I mean, that's just a lot of information. Don't really like that. Wow, so this blade stock is feels pretty thick. I'm not measuring it. You can go online and figure that out. But for a folding knife, that's a pretty thick stock. This blade thickness comes all the way down to the edge. I mean, this is a real stout edge to it. I mean, I actually just touched this knife and it feels really sharp. Um, so I like that. So these thumb studs also look like they're, blade stops and, helps with the stability of this blade. Um, there's absolutely no play in this whatsoever. And it's kind of interesting. It's like two identical scales put together. So you got a seam here. And then at the end, there's a glass breaker. I'm not so sure. It's it's a frame lock, and this is the screws to the. Excuse me, it's a liner lock, and these are the screws to that. So, I mean, I don't know if you can see down back in there. Let's see if I can angle it right. You see that like brass looking thing, a gold looking thing? What is that? Is that like a blade stop? It. All right. Well, I guess. I mean, that thing is beefy, whatever the heck that thing is. Um, I was gonna say it was like a roller almost because it comes really close to the tang of this blade. Um, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't interact with the tang of the blade. So I'm assuming that's a stop because it looks like it might rest right here. The blade comes. Is that? Yeah, that's where I think. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't know what that is. So anybody knows what that is, can you comment down below? I love learning from you guys if you can, and hopefully you learn a couple of things from me once in a while. All right, so the pocket clip looks. I mean, it's got a lot of tension on it. I mean, it doesn't look like anything fancy, but there's high praise of this knife. So I'm assuming it's going to be just fine. I mean, these fasteners here, hardware here, look to be pretty small. It's probably a T6. I'm not going to pull it out right now, but I don't know if you take this apart for, what would you take it apart for? I guess for the same reasons, right? To clean out the pivot. Is that on washers? I'm not sure if it's on washers or it feels too good to be on washers. Unless it's not vinyl. What do they call that? Anyway, I don't know what it's on, but so you know what? All right, how does it feel? I like this. Let me open this knife again. All right, I do like this grip, right? It kind of reminds me of a dagger grip, where you have and the both ends are flared out, and this kind of almost has like a dagger feel to it. I mean, to me, it has a little bit of a dagger feel to it. So, especially with this molding here. I mean, I like this little finger area. It it feels good. Like depending upon how I grab it. Like if I grab it like this, my thumb falls right in that spot. Um, Man, there is a lot of distance between your finger and the beginning of this blade. So, the people that like finger choils or to get right up on a blade, this doesn't look like you can do it. I mean, you can. And then this ramp is actually, usually a ramp would be flat or sometimes it would be up. Um, but I guess that's what this is, but then you also have some jimping up on top. So you got some jimping here and jimping on top of the blade, and this one is in a downward direction. So I don't know if that's just for design, or there's a reason for that. I mean, obviously you can use it. So I mean, if somebody's going to tell me the reason is because you could use it, then yeah, I mean, I got it. I mean, what's the point of all this? I just don't get that. What does it say? The USA and the date. I guess, is that the date it was made? June 2023. And then I got a serial number here, but why do I care about a serial number? You know? And is that, so that's 14,000. Is that like since the beginning of time? Because that would seem like a low number. I mean, this knife has been around for a while, so knives aren't as popular as I would have thought. Because you'll see some like ZTs, right? And the serial number on them would be, 7,000 at the high. And anyway, all right. So this is a very interesting knife blade shape. It looks like it would be tactical, right? So that's what this is supposed to be. I think the military uses it, and I can't tell you if it's like the Navy SEALs or the Army or which one, and if law enforcement uses it. I believe there is a bunch of that going on surrounding this knife. It's part of the ethos of this knife, and the reason why it's so popular. It's sort of like the Glock of the knife world. And if you ever wanted to hear an interesting story about the history of guns, check out the history of the Glock company. Very, very interesting. So, all right, how's it balanced? It's, balanced pretty good. This thing is sharp. I'm not going to do that. Wow. All right. So is it? So it's got a double clutch situation there. So whatever. All right. I mean, let's hear that detent. Get it up close. That's good. I mean, I like the knife. So it is like on everyone's top whatever knife list. So I can see myself really liking this. It's very different. And if you ever watch my videos, you'll know that my first reaction to a lot of things is very lukewarm when it's different. You know, when I'm really gushing about something, it's because I know what I liked about a previous version of it, and it's like a newer version of that. But when I see something entirely new, this is certainly something different than anything that I have in my collection, that it takes me a while to warm up to it and what I would do with it. So, it's a chunky knife, which I like. It has some weight, which I like. Let's weigh it first. So that's a gram. Oh, I should have just done that. All right, so in pounds, and I don't think you can always see this. It's 5.3 ounces. And then in grams, that is 151 grams. And so 5.3, that is not lightweight in a lot of people's mind. I like the weight. I like how it's thicker up here and then thinner down here. This shape is in other knives, and that's a good shape. And especially if you're going to use it for like a glass breaker, and which is what this has at the bottom here, then having it in this shape is just fantastic. So I'm sure the designer built it with that in mind. Though I don't know, but that's my educated guess. Yeah, I do like this texture in here. It'll give it some traction. So I mean, this knife is definitely designed with a use in mind. And since it's military and police, that would be a more tactical use, I guess, right? But I mean, it has a really nice blade. I mean, that you can use for anything, right? I mean, this would be I would think a great box cutter opener. I mean, it is thick stock, so it's not going to be a slicer. I mean, if you want a slicer, you got to get a really thin blade. I don't normally like carrying around a very slicey knife because the trade-off of getting a very slicey knife is something that you couldn't use if you really had to. And I'm not prepared. I don't walk around every day thinking about, oh, it's going to be Armageddon and whatever. But the difference between carrying a smaller, thinner, slicier knife and carrying something of this size is usually not that much, especially since I only put, one thing in my knife pocket, which is the knife. So I can, a small knife or a big knife, it doesn't really matter. So I like having the ability to know that if I needed to use something, that I had more options. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't cut a piece of paper as good, right? But so I'm sacrificing that for other things. But I don't think in those terms. But when I think about my gear set, that is part of my thought process, right? What's ahead for the day? What, am I riding? Am I walking in the woods? Am I going to work? Am I going to a wedding? So those are all, different, a gear set, right? Some areas, some things you might not want to even carry, right, in a certain situation. So that's obviously everyone's choice. So not to get into that too much. So yeah, this knife is really centered. And this is, like I say, thumb studs and a blade stop, which is, for a hinderer, it's a flipper. So that's why you can't really use these 2L on the hinderer flippers, because it's the detent is tuned for a flipper, but this is tuned for a thumb stud. So that works real well. Yeah, this is pretty easy to disengage, though there is a double clutch. So I don't like that at all. That's the only knock on this knife so far. I mean, the other things I am not going to knock on a knife because it's just so new. And the fact that this is so highly respected in the community and across, knife lovers in general, and law enforcement and military, that there's a reason for it, right? And I respect its reputation. But that double clutch, don't like that. All right. Well, that's first impression. So, what size is it? Let's measure that and wrap this thing up. Struggle here for a second. It's warm in here. All right. What do we got? All right. What do we got? So, let's see. This is, I'm going to be perfect. This is like a 9-inch knife. I mean, it's slightly over 9 if you want to count the glass breaker. So, but yeah, it's 9 inches, all right? And then the actual metal, the blade itself is 4 inches. And then the rest is 5, right? So 5 plus 4 is 9. And so the handle's 5 inches. All right, there you go. This blade looks really, let me see, I've got a piece of paper. Let's try this. I'm using this same wrapped paper that I've used in some other videos, which is, so it's flimsy, it's got creases in it, so it's easy to catch, and the blade's easy to catch on one of these and not go through as smoothly. So no, but I'm just wow, that's pretty darn good. Yeah, I like that. And then you've got this Tonto. It's almost like a Warncliffe. So I do like, look at that. I do like that tip being there. And then you've got another tip here where, like, here's a box, right? Is it in the, yeah, it's in the video. Here's a box and you put that tip in the center and you cut into it and you see, it cuts into it. Yeah, so that's nice. Certainly if you're looking for a knife to open stuff and And, if you got locked in a room or something and you're afraid or something, that you would have this to be able to maybe pry a window open, or, not that I think about that stuff, but here, let me just put it this way. Here's a knife, and here's a knife. So this knife right here is awesome, right? It's slicey, it's thin, it's small, it's symmetrical. I love this knife, but and this knife will cut paper much much better, and the reason for that is the stock thickness. So you trust me, if you can't see it on, if it doesn't look good in the camera, trust me that this is much thinner than that, and the grind is flatter or whatever, and just, even if it's not in this particular example, just understand what I'm trying to say here, right? And it is in this example. This is definitely a slicier knife than that. You saw this could still cut paper, and it could open a box. So, you know, but this one can't do what this one could. Like, if I needed to pry a windowsill open, or break a window, or or do something, I have more capability with this knife than that. And the penalty in size and weight is, there, absolutely, for sure. But because of the way I carry it, it's not going to bother me. I mean, the only difference here would be this knife is a concealed carry, like a deep concealed. Like, you wouldn't even see this, and then this here, this would stick out, right? So, but those are the things you have to think about when you're thinking about what knife you're going to carry for the day. So this is a pretty long-winded way of just saying, I see this as for what it is, and I like it, right? I mean, I like it. I'm not a tactical guy though. So this is M390 steel. So I'm not a tactical guy, but what I had just spent, the last 5 minutes explaining to you is what I believe in. While I'm not tactical, this will cut what I need it to cut, and it's a great knife. And if I needed to be tactical, here it is. And I don't mind having prepared for, a situation where I need to use something this strong. Anyway, all right. Well, what else? I think that's it, really. It's so new. So what I'm gonna do is, I needed to open this thing so I can carry it to work tomorrow and this weekend, and play with it. And I think because it is steel, it's going to be a good knife for me to carry on my motorcycle also. I don't think it's going to rust. I mean, the M390 is not a nitrogen-based steel like this one is. So this LC200N is a nitrogen-based steel, and that's why this knife is like a rust-resistant, like a rust-proof knife. This one will still resist the elements that I'm gonna be in, right? So I'm not gonna be in the ocean for a month at a time, for a month, and have the knife on me, right? So I'm gonna be riding on a motorcycle, and it may rain, and this may sit in the rain for 1, 2, or 3 days or 4 days, and I might use it to cut my food and wipe it off, and still have some food particles on it. None of that is going to affect this knife. And I'm guilty of, thinking I've got to have the best to do all that stuff. And I think most of us are like that, right? We look at a spec sheet, and we want the best specs, right? But I've learned that it's just, you need it to do what you needed it to do, and anything beyond that is just extra fluff. But regardless of that, I'm still guilty of thinking, I'm not going to buy a knife in like OS 8, right? That's just a steel I'm not interested in. Why? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's going to cut a box and the paper open just as good, and if I oil it, it's going to be fine. I certainly can't go 4 days in the rain with that knife. I'm pretty sure of that. But I just wouldn't bring that knife. And how many times am I going to be 4 days in the rain? Let's face it. So yeah, but I'll instead of buying that $25 knife, I'll buy this knife. This knife is $330, which I think is a fair price. I don't know. I mean, I just really don't know. I'm not here to judge. I could tell you though, the market think it's a fair price because they sell out of these. They make them and they sell out of them. So enough people are buying them. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I have another knife coming. It should probably come tomorrow. It's going to be something I'm going to be very excited about. So you probably hear me gush a little bit about it. But I thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video and tell your friends all about it. Share the link somewhere. All right. Again, thanks, guys. I will see you another time. And thanks again.